Good morning and welcome to the Romanticist Review. My name is Jeremiah Torres. I'm your host. I'm here with Seth from Mainland Rum. How you doing, Seth?
Good morning. How's it going? I'm doing well.
It's fantastic. So can you go ahead and tell me what is Mainland Rum?
Mainland Rum is an American independent bottler of domestically distilled rum. So we only focus on rums that are made in the continental United States. We're not doing any rums from Puerto Rico or the U.S. Virgin Islands, Hawaii, or Alaska, just the 48 that touch and are landlocked with each other.
Thank you. And can you tell me how did you get into rum?
I've always been into everything. I mean, there's never been like a rule or anything that I set up for myself that I couldn't do rum or brandy or tequila or anything. Um, I've been thinking about rum for a few years now. The opportunity to kind of do my own thing had arose after my almost 11 going on 12 years with Broken Barrel Whiskey and Infuse. um, which started in around 2012. But by 2024, we sort of separated, and that allowed me to sort of go and try new things. And one of those new things was consulting for other people, which was successful to the extent that I was able to start buying up some barrels of American rum and start a brand that I had been kind of um, thinking about for some time. And I've always drank rum. I think Four Square rum really opened my eyes to how good rum could be and what some of the aged rums, how they sit next to whiskey. I have and continue to be a massive whiskey drinker. Rum is a natural, easy, logical, inclusion in the category of fine sipping aged spirits, much like cognac or even American brandies. So for me, it was obvious. It was like a no-brainer. But the fact that nobody was really doing anything like what I wanted to do or thought needed to be done, quite frankly, it was shocking. You almost wonder, like, is there a reason no one's doing this? Are people crazy? Like, am I crazy? What am I missing? What am I not seeing? Why has this not been done multiple times, let alone at all? So, I did some research. I didn't just jump into it the minute I had the idea. It took me a few years to kind of massage the idea into a state of being ready for further, and for any kind of investment. And then the name, when I had that name Mainland, I was like, oh shit, that's a good name. We should probably do that. And then I saw it was available. I'm like, oh, we really need to do this. And then I found this really good barrel. I think you tried it, the Barrel '01, we're calling it. I'm calling it. It was the first barrel I bought and the last barrel that distillery will ever have of their own rum. And that just all clicked. The name, the capitalization, the actual first product I wanted to launch with. There was just a lot of, I think the most debate I had was, what is the brand going to be? Is it going to be all cask strength, some cask strength, regular proof, and then a cask strength version? Like, how do we sort of figure this out? So I talked to a lot of people and, ultimately decided like single barrel cask strength across the board, make it easy. So, and then here we are.
That's awesome. So I'm curious, is so someone else coming from a very niche, maybe even micro niche, was it something you were nervous about going to such a niche territory for that specifically American mainland cask strength? Were you nervous about that such a niche area?
Um, Not nervous about the category or the like statistics of what this product is, like what Mainland is putting out. I think I was more nervous about, the money of it because this is the first time I've done anything with my own money. I don't have any investors. I was getting investors when I was 23, 24 years old in the vodka space, and then later on in the whiskey space, still not even 30 years old. Um, so now doing it myself, there's maybe a little hesitation about, am I just throwing money like into a fire here? Is this gonna work? Am I gonna sell anything? I think I know enough people after almost 15 years in the business to like pick up the phone, make some calls, and see if I can get people to, take my meeting and try my product and give me a shot. Pricing it, a little nervous about how to price things. I lived in a world of stuff that was 20 to 50 bucks a bottle, 60 bucks a bottle. So to start at like 75, 80 and go up was definitely outside of my comfort zone for the last, decade. Um, I was nervous about some of those things, but that I'm a brand guy. I'm a product guy. I help people with their pricing and positioning all the time. So I'd like to think when it comes to the setup of a brand, what it should be called, how it should look, what is it going up against, price point, all those things. I'd like to think I have a decent idea. I spend a shit ton of time in liquor stores from the crappiest ones to like the finest high end, and I just walk and walk and walk and I look at the product and I look at what it is they're offering. And so, but it all came together, I think. No more nerves on that end. And people seem to be responding like just ridiculously well. So it's actually gone probably in most uh from most angles, I'd say it's going better than expected, pretty much. So
It's
that's
awesome.
good.
I
That's
mean,
good.
it's honestly it's a very attractive brand. My first time looking at it, I definitely it's something that has a pull to it because there's a really big mission and a big story behind it, and that's always important for a rum. So I don't know if you're aware of this, but Bacardi, so they have interests in other spirits besides rum because they're one of the,
Yeah,
I believe, top five largest brands, liquor
absolutely.
brands, and so they projected that following the tequila trend that we see now, they project that rum would have a resurgence. And so it's really awesome where you and I are positioned really ahead of the curve here. And there's a definitely there's some pros and cons to that because if you're
Yeah,
before the trend, then you're already there, but you're also before the trend. So, but it is awesome. Like I'm saying, that the brand that you have is really poised for to be at the front end of that. And from what
yeah.
I've my own experience with your expressions there, you really do have a good eye for these things. And so, speaking of that, what exactly do you look for when you're scouting for your next expression?
Um, yeah, I'm in the process of doing that right now. I've got a well, like well, just for people listen to this a week, a month, a year from now, you never know. It's mid-September 2025. We launched in May, so we've been out for exactly 4 months. Like tomorrow will be exactly 4 months. No, what is that? 180 days. So we're 180 days in. No, that's not right. 90, 120, 120 days. Edit that. I am good at math. 120 days. 120 days. And I would say the the positioning of it and sort of where we are and how we get the next what are we looking for to pick in the next releases. So definitely want to get 2 or 3 more states in 2025. There's some states and some producers that I really want to work with, but I'm hoping to wait till those barrels hit the 7 year mark. I really am trying to stay seven and up just to kind of keep that price point. I don't want the 6 year to be $5 less than the 10 year. So it doesn't
Absolutely.
really make sense to me. So 7, 8 are the same price point, 9 and 10 are the same price point. And you just kind of have these brackets. So I'm looking for, I'm sure, I was trying to do this thing where we had California and Florida who drink the most rum, Louisiana and Georgia who produce the most rum, and then Massachusetts and New York where the most rum is made. However, me being me and the brand being opportunistic as possible, we have a distributor in Arizona that's picking up the brand. We've signed our agreement and we are going off to launch Arizona later this month in September, early October. And we also found a really old double-digit age-dated bourbon, or sorry, a rum that is in a bourbon barrel that is phenomenal that we really want to get our hands on because it'll be the oldest thing we've released. It's really, really good. We're going to go out and meet them and talk to them and see the distillery in a couple weeks. So, stuff like that comes up. It's like Arizona was not anywhere near the middle or even top of my list of places to look for rum, but you find something cool and delicious and the components around it, the context of it works, then you got to adjust your plan a little bit. And while I'd love to have, I made a big effort in the beginning to get Massachusetts and New York in immediately. And it's been a challenge. It's been certainly a challenge. A lot of the folks in Massachusetts either don't have anything old enough, don't want to sell, or are just a couple of them just priced like, what are you doing? Like, it's
Yeah.
not gonna work, buddy. Like, can't have 10, 15, $20,000 barrels. We just can't do it. Like,
Wow.
because that's not how we're gonna get people into the category. That's not how
Absolutely.
we're gonna build American rum. We need, I think we're really at the top of the price point of what I think people are willing to pay. Um, Not just for rum, which is its own conversation, but for American rum, which is kind of, sitting in this, not no man's land, but we're not the Caribbean, we're not South America, we're not even like the UK, which has been making rum for quite a bit now and has popularized. And American rums are, even in our own country, especially globally, are not top of mind
Right.
by any stretch. And I think
Definitely.
folks like yourself and myself, and I love that I just posted the guys from Rum Geography. They're doing like there's a few folks out there that are really trying to bolster the rum category, and I think that's what needs to happen in America. So, but it has to be priced right, it has to be packaged right, it has to be presented in a way. We have to kind of hit the right audience first, which in my opinion is whiskey drinkers and rum aficionados. And like, you don't have to be a rum aficionado. If you're a bourbon drinker and you're drinking Booker's and Baker's and some of these high proof whiskeys and old granddad 114, like me coming out with 120 proof rum isn't going to scare you. But if you're a Kraken or Bumbu rum drinker, my stuff's gonna blow your tongue off. Like it's gonna rip a hole in the center of your esophagus. Like some of these folks have maybe never had a Kentucky Hug, which is what we call when you're swallowing, some bourbon. And again, for context, I come from almost a decade in whiskey as well. 2017, I bought my first barrels of whiskey and put out, at the time, 9-month-old bourbon, which was really, really needed improvement for sure. But we went on to win some pretty prestigious awards later in life as we got into the thick of the whiskey world. So I know with that community, we could take a lot of lessons from bourbon, right?
Absolutely.
And that's, to wrap up the answer to this question, I think we're looking for product that is well priced, unique, not commercially available. That's a big one for me. So I've managed somehow to put out a number of rums that are not commercially available, meaning you can't go to that distillery or find that distillery's exact replica of my product with a different label on the shelf. So when I put out a 10-year Louisiana single barrel cask strength, you could buy that Louisiana rum from the distillery at their tasting room at liquor stores around the country, but it's not 10 years old. It's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not cask strength. It's maybe 48% at the best. And it's not a single barrel. They do have a single barrel, but that's a 4-year and it's not cask strength. So it's a different product altogether. And funnily enough, they were like, don't use our name. And then I put it out there without their name on it, and people were like, they figured out where it was from, and they go, "Wow, this is better than anything they've ever put out. Like this is amazing." So I was like, "Ah, you lost some free advertising there. I could have bolstered your shit." Like,
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
but I'm looking. There's some cool stuff in the pipeline. I can tell you, um, really, really good relationship building in Washington, D.C., nation's capital. I think that's a good story to tell.
Absolutely.
There's stuff out of Maryland. There's stuff out of New Jersey, Indiana, Ohio, Arizona, as I mentioned. I'm trying to chase down some stuff in Oregon that I know exists that's supposed to be pretty old. And then my favorite one, I'm actually the next thing I'm buying right now is a few barrels of rum from Northern California, which was totally different than our SoCal stuff. And that's going to be Hawaiian molasses. So they imported Hawaiian molasses,
Wow.
100% Hawaiian molasses, and they distilled it, aged it, and we have options for 7 and 8 year. Very tropical tasting, very light in color relative to our initial California barrels, the 8, 9, and 10-year-old stuff we've put out. That stuff is dark, roasty, oaky, almost coffee-like, and very vanilla caramel, bourbon, bourbon adjacent type stuff. This is a little more like a rum drinker's rum, if you will. And I'm excited to finally have something like that because everything I've picked so far has been very, very whiskey friendly, if you will.
That's awesome. It's definitely a lot of variables that you're come across, and the more you get into it, you start to see the categories kind of explode there because, and this is something definitely unique to American rum. It's certainly underrepresented, as you stated, and there's not really, it's not like rum anywhere else in the world. So our rum that we make here, it's incredible in my own experience, the places I've been that you can't even pick a state and say this is the rum they make. It's very individualistic. Definitely ties into our autonomous culture that we have in America, and
Uh,
it's really incredible. It's kind of a distillery by distillery basis, and it can make it very unique, but I imagine it can make it very difficult as well when you're trying to narrow down what exactly you want to get. But uh, I wanted to
on
ask.
that
Oh,
on
sorry. Go
that
ahead.
point, before that question, on that point, I think the big difference with American rum, there's two main differences between American rum and like I'll keep coming back to Kentucky bourbon
Yeah.
or just American bourbon and Kentucky bourbon as a subset. Um, you're right. You're 100% right. Every single distillery is you could have two distilleries on the same street. One's columns distilling from cane juice and the other one's pot distilling from molasses or literally just, processed white sugar. Or I've seen brown sugar. I've seen dehydrated sugar like panela. And uh, you could have two distilleries in Massachusetts on the same block that make such wildly different rums you wouldn't even know they were from the same country, let alone the same state or the same street. Like it is just the Wild West when it comes to that. Very American, if you will. But what you don't have in American rum, in addition to like really strict, rigid rules and guidelines that would govern something like bourbon, with bourbon, you have these conglomerates. You have Heaven Hill, you have Wild Turkey, you have Jim Beam, you have Maker's Mark, Old Forester, and the whole Brown-Forman, Jack Daniels. You have these rocks, these staples that are global. Everybody from Tokyo to Madrid to South America to Canada and Hawaii and anywhere they all know what Jack Daniels tastes. It's like McDonald's. You know
Hmm.
what McDonald's, and every McDonald's you go to, more or less, the French fries should pretty much taste exactly the same. It's uniformity, it's trust, it's your expectations are set globally, and there's no real, margin of error or wavering. Same with these products. You don't have that in American rum. There isn't one big, giant, universal, everywhere you go. Even the largest producer of rum in the United States of an American rum isn't available you go to six liquor stores, pick any city in any state, and you go to six liquor stores, except for maybe like their state. Um, you're not going to find that product, or at least the same five products. Jack Daniel's number 7 is at CVS and Walgreens and where you have Ralph's or Total Wine or Bevmo or um, Joe Schmo's liquor store, they all have the same Jack Daniel's number 7, whatever, whatever. And we just don't even have, that's not even a thing in rum, in American rum. You've got your Bacardis and your Myers and your Captain Morgan and Sailor Jerry. You can find those everywhere, but those are not, 100% American distilled, da da da. And so you don't have this rock that is setting the standard. And then you can't that way you don't have anything to compare to. That's the interesting part of it. So yeah, it really is pick 50 distilleries and you got 50 different rums. Guaranteed without fail. They're just not going to taste, even the white rums, they're just not going to taste the same. So that's an interesting distinction with rum versus whiskey, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. And Ed Hamilton said that he said if you haven't tried a rum in the last 6 months, then you haven't tried it. So even his own experience with it, it's a lot of variation, even bottle to bottle,
Yeah.
or from one cask to another,
Oh yeah.
and two even with the reused cask or the ex-use cask that you see a lot with rum as opposed to a virgin cask that you would see with bourbon. So.
Yep.
Uh, So do you age any of the spirits you acquire, or do you let them sit in the do you have them sitting in the barrels once you've acquired
Yes.
the barrels? And
Yep.
go ahead, I'll let you take
Yeah,
that from
yeah, we
there.
do. We are still aging as we speak. So we have the entire lot of Louisiana with a few exceptions that were out of barrel and then back in barrel that need a little more time. The bulk of them are turning 11. I bought them as 10. They're turning 11 this month. Actually now, like this week. I think like the 17th or something or 14th. Like they're all turning 11 or most of them are. So yeah, they're 10
Awesome.
years Louisiana, 1 year Southern California.
Okay. So now for any any distillers that may that would want to work with you, are you do you if they've reached out to you saying maybe, I got something that's 5, 6 years old, would you want to get it now, hold on to it and release it? Is that the kind of thing you would do, or do you always
I
got
did that once. I did that one time with Georgia. So
okay.
they sold me two 7-year-olds and two 5-year-olds that are about to be 6. And I bought them all because I really wanted the 7-year-olds and I liked the quality of them. Obviously, I released them. So I wanted to, I was willing just to fill the pallet out. I always try to buy 4 barrels to make the full pallet. So to fill the pallet, I just did it as a set of 4, just to get it started.
I think it's awesome
Georgia's
too.
tough though.
I'm sorry, I
Georgia's
didn't mean
tough.
to.
No,
um
no, no. I was just saying Georgia's a tough state. Like, you got the big one out there, and then you've got this one was a ghost distillery that had shut down, and we found their barrels at another distillery. So we had to
wow.
track them down.
Wow, that's incredible. I think it's awesome too. You mentioned that the in some cases taking them out of the barrels, not ready yet, put it back into a barrel. I think that's an incredible thing to do, and really speaks to the dedication to quality that you guys are doing with the with your rums that and I've seen this on your website and things that you guys really are dedicated to not just providing an aged rum of really an American rum, the best of the best, really. And so I think that's definitely speaks to that.
They've been
And
really good. It's like dangerous. They're just, you know, I did not think I'd be drinking this much rum at home. And it's funny because I'll bring I have a trillion bottles. Like I've got one of the craziest collections on the planet. But I come home and I'm still drinking mainland and not just like because I'm trying to support myself or, because it costs me less than it would cost me to go buy a bottle. It's just good. It's just good rum. It's good spirit. That Florida, like the Florida is just taken over my world. Like and it's funny. I don't know what it's the sherry. I'm a sherry junkie and like
yeah.
I just drink. It was just like I couldn't stop drinking the Louisiana 10. Probably January through May, like pre-launch, it was just that. And then I had a little thing for the Georgia for like a month. The Californias were going fast, so I stopped drinking them because I was selling them. And I'm like, I should probably sell these instead of drinking them myself. That's why I did this. So I put some away. I can't do too much of the Barrel '01 because it's strong. It's
Yeah, of
like end
course.
of summer. Then it got hot. Then like by June, July, product is out. It's hotter than hell. It's still hot. So I'm just not drinking something that strong right now. That's a winter. A lot of these have been what I would classify as like winter rums, like, put on a fire, sit outside, put a wrap a blanket or a big jacket and sip on this rum to warm you up inside out. But yeah, it's just been like July, August, September. I've just been crushing the sherry cask like nonstop. And ever since we opened up these 8 years, we've now have an 8 year coming out. It's actually going to launch in Arizona. We did a little preview of it at an event last week and sold out immediately. Two guys bought like the entire case. We
Wow.
put, we put one case on the shelf from the single barrel. It's just gone immediately.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
yeah.
So, so why did you choose to be an independent bottler instead of a distiller?
Well, I'll probably never say never, but I don't have any immediate or future plans to be a distiller. Um, just not I'm not a scientist. I'm I'm a businessman more than a scientist, if you will. So I understand the numbers and the economics, the marketing, the supply chain, the how to construct a business plan, those things. So that's really more of my expertise. I like to think I have a good palate. I'm definitely a decent blender. Not that this requires any blending, but uh, the selection, the negotiations for the barrels to get them at the right price so that everyone can enjoy them, that we can have a business that has eventually, not yet, but eventually a profit that we can stay in business for a long time. I'm always in the long game. Like 11 years at Broken Barrel and Infuse. One of my daughters has a barrel here with her name on it that she filled up at 4 years old. You know,
Wow.
I don't. I think I can get away holding it for 17 years, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, no distilling. Never, there was never even a thought that crossed my head. If I was going to buy any fancy equipment, I would buy a high-speed bottling line. I would buy larger tanks for bigger capacity if I was going to get into blending and batch products or white spirit or those things.
Wow.
So the question was it always to be an independent bottler? And the answer is yes. We I say I uh, got my start with Alexander Murray. Alexander Murray is an independent bottler of single malt Scotch. I met James Stephen Lip, who just goes by Steve Lip, on his business end, and Jimmy on his, friends side of life. So Steve took me under his wing, taught me everything I knew at the time. Got to go around and sell single malt scotch with him and his son while I was selling vodka. And so I got, my introduction to the industry was through independent bottling. So this is like I've known independent bottling and some of the intricacies of it for, 15 years. So it's been a journey for sure. It made sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that makes a lot of sense the way you put it. And so what have you learned from the whiskey and vodka world that you've brought with you to the rum world?
I learned a lot. First of all, I learned how expensive it is to not to be something more like what you're describing. If I were to come out with like a brand, an everyday product, uh, possibly less of a initial investment, but still, it's takes millions and millions of dollars to launch a brand. And while this is a brand, it is a bit more of a label in the sense that it is an interchangeable component of barrel A, barrel B, barrel C, barrel D. Like, the barrels will come and go. And the structure of this kind of business is way more fitting to not only my budget, but my lifestyle. And like, I'm not having to promote and get, I'm selling barrels by the bottle, but also barrels by the barrel. So sometimes it only takes one customer to say yes to have an entire barrel, emptied, bottled, shipped, and sold, and I'm off to the races. And so when doing something like that, it's much, much easier for me to manage the brand and the label in less time than it would take to really run a full brand. I've got young kids. I'm home at 5 making them dinner. I'm dropping them off at school. I'm there, with the kids a lot. And so this allows me not only to do that and be present in my home life, but also allows me to still have the freedom to do some consultation for folks, as well as I have a role with American Single Malt Capital, helping them do deals across the US on the single malt whiskey side for American Single Malt. So I'm definitely in the American spirits camp. I've never imported a single drop of anything under my own, guidance or anything like that. So I always try to keep it uh, within the states.
Yeah, that's a dedication to American spirits if there ever was any.
Yeah,
I I wanted to ask you about because you're talking about the blending. So I know that there's a as of right now you guys aren't doing anything blended or unaged for that matter, but um so having experience with blending, is that something that piques your interest possibly for the future, or maybe doing your own
absolutely.
blending?
Yeah, without getting into too many details, yeah, I'm working on something. I'm
Okay.
working on blends that would be for a product that gets into the realm of, more involved, more capital, more work. But yeah, we'll get there. There's no rush. The beauty of doing this all on my own is that I don't have any like partners or investors or anything to tell me this needs to happen or that needs to happen. It's a combination of what I think needs to happen, what I want to see happen, what opportunities are around. And so sometimes you just sit back and something comes across your plate and you're like, oh, that is what I need or needed to get me to get out of my chair and go do this thing. So maybe whether it's, um, the Arizona barrel, like the distributor in Arizona, that conversation led me to make a phone call. That phone call led me to a distillery. The distillery just happened to have 10 plus year old, barrels. And now I have samples. I've got done my research. I've sampled many people that I know and trust on the product. And I'm comfortable moving forward with it if the distributor is, because I wouldn't have bought that barrel or have been so excited about it if I didn't have somewhere for it to go. But for it to go to its own home state and do so at a price point and sort of a situation where it's going to um, have a home, like before I even put $1 into it, that's enough to get me to do it. So that worked out really well. And it's going to work out, that's the kind of stuff where it's like, all right, I guess we're doing that. Like that's happening. So
That's incredible. It is really awesome to see, really from my own perspective and working through rums in America. It's incredible to see someone else pushing that narrative of American rum, really pushing that underrepresented category. I think it's really awesome, and it's the same thing that inspired me to get into it as well, was just seeing being passionate about the category and then seeing that people just didn't know about it. And uh, I mean, anytime I'll speak for South Jersey at least. Any bar you go to, uh, what kind of rum do you have? We got Bacardi and Captain. I mean, you might
yeah,
you might see Sailor Jerry's, but it's Bacardi and Captain, and that's as we discussed, really not a it's not a good representation at all of the category. And so, following that, I want to ask you, how do you feel about rum, or I could say your rum and rum cocktails, and how do you feel like that as far as your mission for the category? How do you feel about
um,
cocktails?
I have no mission as it relates to cocktails for the category. Mainland in particular is not priced for cocktails.
Of course.
It's deliberately mature in its look and presentation. I designed it to look like a single malt scotch, if you will,
Hmm.
and present itself in a very serious, very straightforward way that is, I don't want to say no frills. It has elegance to it, and it has um, a clean, presentable look. It's the kind of thing you'd give to somebody as a gift, and they'd be like, "Oh, wow, that's a nice bottle." Like you want people to go, "That's a really nice bottle. That's a good looking bottle, clean. I'm sure this is a good quality. It looks expensive, relatively speaking." Um, and so in that regard, like it's not meant for cocktails. I had no intention, if not one drop of mainland ever made it into a mixed drink. That's great. I posted a video today of my favorite mixed drink, which is mainland on ice. Like
Yeah.
that's a cocktail for me. Which some of them, some of those hazmat ones really don't they don't mind a little ice because they're still, even if you water them down 50%, they're still strong as shit. Like
Yeah.
they're still gonna get you somewhere. So um you could the way you would use them in a cocktail if you were gonna put 80, 90, $100, bottle rum in a mixed drink. Yeah, you get some of those dark rum, some of them are super dark. California. That one is extremely dark, extremely rich. You could replace dark rum in a Mai Tai or some other cocktail. But you could also kind of swap any of them out for whiskey in classic whiskey cocktails. So the sherry cask in a Manhattan, the Louisiana 10 in an old fashioned. We have served drinks before, not like at two events, we've now done a cocktail with them just to kind of get people like a little welcome drink kind of thing. And that's what we did. We did a Manhattan and an old fashioned, but um it's not the intention. There's no like woo woo party. There's no umbrellas. There's no pineapple on the bottle. There's no pirates. There's no Tonga. There's no Polynesian, whatever. It's just none of that. It's
Yeah.
first of all, it's American, and
Right.
it really has more of like this. We have I was gonna do a boat. I was gonna do a vessel that it's called the USS Constitution. We were very, very, very set. I can show you how it was going to look. This was the second to last edition of it, and it was going to have a boat on the top instead of sugarcane. So we
Right.
were very close to doing that, and then we backed off of it. My wife was like, "But it's mainland. It's mainland." I'm like, "Yeah, we sailed to the mainland and then we colonized." And they're like, "She's like, no, there's no boat on the mainland. It's all land. You don't have boats." And I'm like, really? I was like, we were so far along. I thought it was done. And I'm like, God damn it. Like, I gotta fucking change it. Like, and she's right. She's a designer. So she was ultimately the driving force behind changing and then she did a couple rounds of edits on some of our labels. And so she came up with this sort of like arched oval. Our first design ever had we actually had this mainland logo through four iterations of it all. But yeah, I know it kept changing here and there. But yeah, sugar cane um over the ship to kind of wrap in or tie in the whole mainland name and theme.
From tasting the expressions that I have that they truly are sipping spirits, and uh, they deserve that space, for especially for people who do drink spirits like that. And I think that there's definitely a misunderstanding that spirits that there's people who can drink it like that and people who can't. Um, but it's more of an acquired. It's definitely an acquired taste, because I certainly was one of those people who initially, and I think a lot of people are this way, because it's not like we're born for that taste, but born with that taste, I should say. And you have to acquire that. And the more you taste those rums and things, you definitely start to build up a palate for that. And a lot of people think too, they think, oh, well, I don't really have a good palate for that. I don't pick up those tastiness. Well, I don't think any of us did when we first, tasted it. It was like, I think I taste ethanol, but
I can't remember when it was that I started drinking spirits neat. I just know that in college, I don't believe I really did. And then sometime around getting into, I think it was Alexander Murray, just, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40-year-old scotches. It's like, you're not going to add anything to these. These
right.
are these are getting tasted right out of the bottle. And I think that was the beginning of the end for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I think it does say something that in the realm of Scotch that there aren't many Scotch cocktails. Um, and I think that that's something that's a good. It was good. I think also too when you mentioned the labeling and everything like that, I can see I can see the similarities in that, and I definitely think that it is a good space to be in with the quality of the spirits that you're putting out.
Yeah, that was the goal.
And so, uh, so could you more, I guess, narrowly describe your target audience if you had to pick? Obviously, like, really anybody could get into it, but what would you say is like your target audience?
Definitely a mix of rum aficionados, the really sort of top 5% of rum drinkers that are drinking Coroni and they're drinking, or Caroni, or however you say it, or drinking a lot of single barrel cask strength rums that are really focused on the rum history, the rum production, have a familiarity and a collection, maybe even of rum. But I'm looking to fill out that sort of that hole of maybe they've got a bottle of Privateer, or maybe they've got a Mardi Gras from Bayou, or trying to after that it gets kind of dicey, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they've got a local rum from one of their local distilleries or some tour from a distillery, and uh, maybe that rum is one of the few bottles they got alongside. Maybe, out here in California, we had quite a few rums at one point. Malahat was a big producer out here that had a pretty cool bottle, and you could see things going for a while there with what they were doing. But even then, like the rums may only maybe they want to get into something stronger. They've realized probably through whiskey, more likely that they like higher proof stuff and there aren't too many options, or barrel aged rums, which again aren't too many options from the States, versus like flavored, spiced, or unaged, which kind of dominate the total shelf if you go look carefully. The American rums available are generally in those three categories. So now you're dealing with that audience plus my world that I come from, which is not just whiskey, but from bourbon. And when you make the connection, or you spend time in bourbon, not only do you have an affinity for craft spirits, which this entirely is nothing but craft spirits, because they're really, again, like I mentioned before, there's no Jim Beam of American rum that's sitting there in, Pennsylvania with a small city and their own fire department and their own church on site producing, a bajillion gallons or liters of American rum. It's just not happening, right? So with that not existing, you know, bourbon drinkers, they're very patriotic. They want craft. They also want history. They want something made here. And there's obviously a large cohort of people that are, anti-import and whatever. And for those reasons, I think this brand kind of needs to exist to serve that need, or to scratch that itch and be an option for folks that's their preference. I mean, again, the funny part is it's not even my preference. Like I would happily and do drink and buy rum from all over the world and whiskey from all over the world. I'm not, America first, America only, da da da. I'm a pretty open-minded, like, what's your favorite this? It's whatever's in my glass, whoever I'm sitting with, that's as long as my wife's in the room, whatever I'm drinking is the best drink. We're having a good time, right? Like
Yeah.
wine, beer, rum, whiskey, tequila, gin, doesn't matter. It's all great. Um, I think that's the attitude, that's just me personally, but the notion of being from America, I think really does speak to a lot of people and it really is important. And so I'm more than happy to lead that charge and really fight for more American rum representation in our own country. If this stuff gets exported one day, super cool. I don't know if anyone's gonna pay what we're asking for in other parts of the world. But yeah, at least here, I know that we're in a price point and a position that people are and have been willing to pay that price, and even getting comments like it's too cheap. for what it is, given the scarcity and the quality and the sheer nature of it being like these, single barrel cast strength. So, but I have no issues with those audiences, rum and whiskey alike.
I am in the same space where I collect rums from all over the world, and but I do think that it is important. Not a lot of people know that we are the largest consumer. Our country is the largest consumer of rum in the world, and it could be sheer size, or it could be just something. It's ingrained in our history. So I definitely think that it is important to have that kind of mission to really um, to push for more places to recognize, even outside of the country, and that brings me to my next question. So, do you have any interests in doing, I guess, more international business as far as like selling your rum to countries who want to who want to have American rum, and they want to have like quality American rum in whatever context?
I think the main markets for that are probably going to be the UK and Europe, possibly Canada uh, with the future in mind. I don't know if American spirits are the hottest thing in Canada right now, but I think that's more of a political climate, political, you know, issue that I have no control or say in. So I'm just gonna sit back and wait until things maybe clear up from a international, relationship to, but I think American rum would be very well received by Canadian consumers. And I've already got people in Canada that I've sent some samples to that really want to see this brand be available in Canada. I'm sure it would do pretty well when that whole situation is improved. But yeah, I think those countries would be, I mean, maybe in Asia, you could see something like this do well. Obviously, there's a lot of high-end spirits consumers and collectors, and there's a lot of money and wealth up there that I think this would be, even at this price point, very well received. Um, Singapore, maybe Thailand and Vietnam and other places as well. But like, yeah, no, I mean, it's not an immediate goal. I'm trying to keep it to like California, maybe Arizona, and then in no particular time frame, Florida, Massachusetts, and New York, because I'd love to be at like Miami Rum Congress and the New York, Boston Rum Week, and which I think is going on now, and New York has quite a few rum events as well. Like being involved in those events, I'd love to do it, but really, I'd also only do it if I'm for sale in those markets because while people do come in from out of town, I would imagine a large cohort of the consumers attending those events are driving in from a local area. So for them to do that, the chances of them going home and buying it online are a lot slimmer than them maybe buying it next time in their local Total Wine store or whatever. So
Right,
for me, it's really get the distribution and the sales first and then go to the events
right,
versus go to the events hoping to find distribution. Like I've been in this business long enough to know that that's not how it works. Get distribution, then you can go party and have fun and get the table and do the event. But if you're not for sale in that market, there's, it's very challenging to get people to turn around and just buy it online from an event because they're trying 600 things.
right.
Half the time they don't even remember what they tried.
Yeah, that makes
I know,
sense.
I don't always.
Yeah.
And I've been to a
So
lot of those events. I don't like turn around and buy everything right then and there.
right, of
If
course.
you could sell at the event, I wouldn't need distribution. If I could go and sell my bottle right there at my table,
Right,
boom, I would be driving to Florida from California with a truck full of rum because I know I'd make 10, $15,000.
right. Absolutely. So, so where exactly? So, what are all the places that somebody interested in buying a bottle or a bunch of bottles? Where can they? I guess in person or online. Where can they get buy bottles from you?
If you Google Mainland Rum, you'll see a number of retail shops, Vintage Wine and Spirits, for whiskey lovers, lovescotch.com. Those all have the full lineup. We're obviously selling distribution first, and then whatever is left over, we have our own website that has prices, and our prices are generally a little higher than the other retail stores, just to be fair to them and give them, the benefit of being not only can they ship to more states and places than we can, we have limitations, but yeah, we've got a couple items on our site. So if you ever want to find something like super rare, like the wax dip, high proof stuff, we had everything on steel box, but then now they're sold out. It sold out in like a week. So it came and went really fast. Um, and yeah, working on some other new retail spots online. But yeah, there's some options for sure.
It sounds like some like good problems to have. Like as far as
Oh,
the selling out and stuff like that's awesome video. But
yeah.
that concludes all my questions that I had for you. Thank you for taking the time to have this discussion. I really enjoyed it, and I learned a lot about this. And thank you everybody for watching.
So thank you. Thank you for trying and doing the YouTube video and for taking the time to put this together. And I'm sure we'll continue our conversation for months and years to come as things develop. And when I'm in New Jersey, we'll find a time to get a drink.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you know what? I also want to say too, like I'm really enthusiastic about this, your brand in general. I have the luxury of being able to interact with things that I truly enjoy. Since I am in charge of my own enterprise, I guess, or my own, ventures, and a fortunate thing for you as well, to be able to really pursue something that you're actually passionate about, not really having to go where you don't want to go. So it's been a pleasure for me doing this because, like I said, I believe in your mission, and I think it's a really awesome thing you got going. Um,
Thank you.
and yeah, we'll
Same
have
here.
conversations, and if you are in Jersey, definitely we'll have to, we'll
Same if you're in Los Angeles or any of these various events next year, or end of this year. I don't know whenever the next one is, but definitely let's make a time to find each other.
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again, Seth.
Of
Uh,
course. Of
have a good
course.
rest of your day, and
Yeah, you too. You
I'll see
too.
you around.
Bye, man. Take care. Cheers.